Okay, so it's day one of the week of my birthday week, and I decided we're going to talk about the things that I understand, the things that I know about. So this is going to be about my fertility story. And not the typical parts, and we're not going to talk about it from the medical perspective of why miscarriages happen and what to do about a miscarriage, because I've talked about that. I'm going to keep talking about that in the future, but today we're going to just talk about what happened, my fertility journey, because I'm hoping that through my journey and knowing the end story, which is that I have 3 babies, as I joke, more kids than I can handle, that each of you or any of you who are going through or might go through in the future a fertility story or journey of your own will remember me, remember all the women that you already know or might not even realize have gone through stuff. So those of you who don't know me might not know I've had this journey because you just know I'm a doctor, I have 3 kids. You might not know I've gone through this journey that so many women go through. So basically, I'm not going to include the whole endometriosis aspect because that's going to be another day this week. This is my birthday week, and I'm going to talk about all my stuff, and I'm going to use that as part of the story to help you guys all have hope in all the things that you might go through. So today's story is just going to talk about, I was a resident, and we decided we'd see what happens. We'll see if I get pregnant. I was 32 years old, and we stopped using birth control pills. Lo and behold, we got pregnant immediately. And I had always had regular periods. I'd always had very painful periods because I had endometriosis. Unbeknownst to me, it was really bad endometriosis. I mean, we knew it for various reasons we'll talk about later, but it was going to get worse later in my life. But I got pregnant right away. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even try. Here it was. I got pregnant. I mean, I tried, but not a lot. And I was 32, positive pregnancy test, did an ultrasound on my own in the clinic, like in the middle of the night at the hospital one night when I was a resident. Saw a tiny little sac and it was empty. And I started bleeding. And I had already told my best friends and my parents and everyone because despite the fact that I was an OBGYN resident and I knew what could happen, I didn't think it would happen to me because who thinks it's going to happen to them, right? We are either filled with innocent hope or deep-seated paranoia. It seems to be one or the other. Many of us, or very few of us, I would say, are truly realistic. I have met a few, and those of you out there, you know who you are. You are amazing women. The vast majority of us are kind of cluelessly, dichotomously, oh my God, pie in the sky, it couldn't happen to me, or oh my God, what if it happens to me? And I was kind of dumb. Pie in the sky, I just didn't even think about it. How dumb, I was a resident, I see it every day. Now, good news was I was not devastated by it because I knew the statistics. It was so common. But that was a pretty frustrating miscarriage because I bled a lot. And that damn little sac, this empty little sac that never moved forward into anything more, wouldn't go away. So I had to have the equivalent of a uterine biopsy, an endometrial biopsy, in the office to get it removed from my uterus. And that thing was painful. And that was my first introduction as a 3rd-year resident into what it was like to do that procedure. I used to do them on patients all the time in the clinic. It's going to feel like a little cramp. And then when I did that, I had that procedure that day, I remember saying, oh my God, it is like you're stabbing me in the uterus. I have been lying to my patients all these years. So for all those women who I had to take care of from when I was an intern to as a 3rd year, I'm sorry that I basically did not know what the hell I was talking about. Flash forward, we wait a couple months. Because back in the day, we used to tell people, wait a couple months before you try again. So I did. Got pregnant again right away. First try. Got pregnant right away. Isn't that great? Oh my God. And here's the truth, ladies. Now, flash forward, I have 3 children. I've had 9 pregnancies is the end of this story, by the way. I don't exactly remember how far we got into that pregnancy. I know that we got to the point where that pregnancy miscarried. I know that we got to the point where we saw more than the first pregnancy. We got to, I think, a heartbeat stage. I'm not exactly sure of the details. And I'm not sad that I don't know that. And I don't feel bad that I don't know that. I feel thrilled to tell you with hope that those details, that this moment are burned in your brain, that were burned in my brain. How far was my HCG? How many weeks did I think I was pregnant? What day did I think I was pregnant? When was I going to go back to the doctor? How big was the sac measuring? How big was that, what looked like that little grain of rice measuring? Was there a heartbeat? How many beats was the heartbeat? All those details that seemed so important in that moment. I luckily now don't remember, because now at the end of that story, my fertility story, those details are not as important. Thank God. So please remember that. So that pregnancy also did not end with a baby. It ended with another miscarriage, for which I did not need a D&C either. It passed on its own, and we were not able to determine the cause, but I was able to get pregnant again with what is now my first child. That was a rocky pregnancy. I was 250 pounds. I was mildly hypertensive. I bled a little bit at the beginning. My tests for Down syndrome were abnormal, not because of Down syndrome, as it turns out, but because that placenta was not healthy. And towards the end of the pregnancy, I needed to be induced. That child, who is now almost 17 and delightful, had a rocky road where he was in the NICU for 10 days after delivery. Next, flash forward. That was a challenging vaginal delivery. I never wanted to go through that again. That is not to say everyone should not try vaginal deliveries. Vaginal deliveries can be wonderful and they can be challenging. Everyone should have a conversation with their doctor to figure out what is right for them specifically, because each of us is different and every situation is different. And there is no one right answer. Nothing is ever only. Everything is always and. Please remember my saying. After that baby was born, don't you know, we wanted to try again. A year later, we decided we're going to try again. And I got pregnant again. And guess what? What ensued next was 4 more miscarriages. Boom, 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 boom. Of those 4 miscarriages, I needed 4 D&Cs, but for only 3 of the miscarriages, meaning 1 passed on its own, but of the other 3 miscarriages, I needed to have a dilation and curettage, where you're asleep under a little bit of anesthesia and the doctor removes the contents of the uterus to gently take everything out so that there's nothing in there. And unfortunately, because the shape of my uterus is a bit odd, some of the tissue was left behind, not at all because of the fault of the doctor, who was wonderful, but because my uterus was odd. And the doctor gently removed everything without over-scraping, appropriately so. And so I had 4 D&Cs in the span of about 2.5 years. And by that 4th miscarriage, I said to one of my partners in my practice, who at the time was not my doctor, I'm a little tired. I don't know how many of these I got left in me. Because every time I'd get pregnant, I would say, I think I can do this. I think this one's going to be okay. Let's see. But I would play those games with myself. I would play the I'm not going to get my hopes up, because I'm going to see, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm going to see what happens. I'm just going to wait till I see the heartbeat. I'll get to 12 weeks and then I'll let myself get excited, which you may have heard me say this before. That is a fool's game. Your hopes were up the minute that pea hit the stick and you saw that positive test. So don't fool yourselves, ladies. Let your hopes be up, because they're already up. And infuse that pregnancy with positivity. Because if you miscarry, it's going to suck, but you're not shielding your feelings. You're just not. If you think you are, you're fooling yourself. So let your hopes be up, because it's going to suck if you miscarry, but it's going to be beautiful if it doesn't. And you're not getting any less suckage. That's just a fact. So after that 4th miscarriage, I got pregnant. This is now pregnancy number 8, if you've lost track. Now at this point, I am 38 years old almost. And that's my now 2nd baby, who's 13. He just turned 13. And guess what happened in that pregnancy? I bled the entire time. And I had decided that I was frustrated about not being pregnant, and I was taking matters into my own hands. And so I took medication to help me ovulate. Now, I had ovulated on my own the whole time, but I was like, okay, I don't have time to wait for ovulation this time. I'm going to take some medication, and I'm going to talk to the fertility doctors, RMA, amazing doctors. So I took some fertility pills. I don't advocate for you doing that on your own. And I walked into RMA because I was bleeding at 7 to 8 weeks. And I said, get me through this miscarriage. And I have 1 more in me that I can do. And guess what? I was bleeding like a period, thinking it was a miscarriage. And it wasn't a miscarriage. It was my now beautiful 13-year-old boy who had a 2nd twin that decided to no longer stay inside my uterus, which was okay. I know a lot of people feel really sad. And at the time, I don't know. I don't think I felt that sad. I think I just felt so grateful that there was one little nugget that decided to stay in my uterus, that I couldn't feel sad about the second one. And that might sound heartless to some people, and I don't mean it to sound heartless. I truly feel thankful to every little embryo that tried to stick, and I feel like every embryo laid a path for the ones that did stick. So I mean this. I feel grateful every day for those 6 pregnancies that didn't stay. And I believe that they have soul and love. And as much as I support abortions and every single person's right to choose, I also believe that there is soul in every single little embryo that lives. And I'm okay with them living, and I'm okay with them not living. I think you can do and both, because I also believe that we're all going to be here on the other side afterwards. So that child had a little twin, and by probably 10 to 12 weeks, the sac of that second twin was no longer there, and I bled a lot through that pregnancy until about 15 or 16 weeks, and then I stopped. And that child was born by C-section by choice, because that was correct for me. That's not correct for everyone. That child was also born with a club foot, which is where the foot is turned up and in, and needed that corrected for the first 4 years of his life. He's now actually kind of a good athlete. And then I thought it was done. I was like, hot dang, I'm 38. I got 2 kids, and I am never, ever having another baby in this body. I'm done. Don't talk to me about it, I would say to my husband. I don't want any more babies. 2 boys and I'm done. Aren't you so sad you don't have a girl? People would say that all the time. And I was like, you know what? Guess what? When you've been through 8 pregnancies and had 2 babies, you're just happy you've got a baby. You do not give a shite that you've had a girl or boy. Of course, in my heart, I would have loved to have a girl. I come from a family of girls. My sister and I are so close, and I love baby girls. But call a spade a spade. It is what it is. I'm just happy I had babies, right? Lo and behold, who was not so careful? And don't you know, at age 40, I got all shades of knocked up with my now baby girl. So I have been through the craziest fertility journey. 9 pregnancies, 3 babies, 1 horrible vaginal delivery, 2 fairly good planned C-sections. My first one had an intrauterine stroke. My second one had a club foot. My third was a surprise pregnancy at 40. And I'm a pretty good gynecologist. I know how this stuff works. I had 4 DNCs for 3 of the miscarriages. Crazy. And I say all this not to garner any sympathy. I don't need it and I don't want it. I say it all for hope, because any of you right now who are going through it, or any of you who I am sad to say will go through it, because we know the statistics, and here's where I will become the doctor, that we know that anywhere from 20 to 30% of miscarriages, depending on what you read, 20% of pregnancies will end in miscarriage. Some would say up to 50% if we include the very early positive pregnancy tests that never are even recognized. So we know it's just so common. And anytime you have that happen, I really want you to believe the statistics, which are that the vast majority of time after you have that miscarriage, you will go on to have a healthy pregnancy. Will it be on your own? I don't know. Will you need oral medication for fertility? Will you need IVF? Will you need donor egg? Will you need donor sperm? Will you deliver vaginally? Will you deliver by C-section? I don't know. Will you need a gestational carrier? I don't know. But I know that if you are willing to be open with your fertility story and your fertility journey, the likelihood is you will be able to mother. Now, don't get me started on all my thoughts about the fact that I do not think every person needs or should mother. And that doesn't mean because not every person would be good at it. There are millions of women who would be amazing at it, who I think don't want to, or might want to, but choose not to for various very good logistical reasons. That is an entirely different topic that I would love to talk about ad nauseum, and I will. But again, this is for hope. If you're out there, and I know you are, and you've had a miscarriage or you're having a miscarriage, I promise you, you'll probably have a baby, because that's just the stats. That's not me being optimistic. Now, if you would like to share your fertility story, Dr. Laura Shaheen and Dr. Natalie Crawford have a new hashtag, MyFertilityStory, so you can share it there. And because it's my birthday week, feel free to tag me in anything that relates to fertility journeys, to endometriosis, to ovarian cancer, to miscarriages. to skincare and to jewelry, because that is what we're going to be talking about